Hi, I'm Eric, and welcome to episode 1 of a new show on the channel that I am going to call I Just Really Like Bikes. I basically just wanted to create a show that I could talk about whatever I wanted to talk about and sit behind a desk while I do it, because it looks kind of cool. And I'm pretty sure some of my friends are getting pretty sick of me using them as an outlet to get all of my discussions of cycling out to, so I'm going to use my YouTube channel instead. And hopefully you enjoy it. If you don't, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to keep making them anyway. So first things first, it is spring, which means it is time to shave the guns. I haven't done it yet, but come the first race of the season, a week or so before, I'll break out the Bic razor and see what my legs look like after an entire winter of gym training, which I actually did quite a bit of this year. Now I know if you're into enduro racing or, you know, just a recreational cyclist, that maybe you don't do this, but of course for us racers it's a spring ritual, which is always hilarious to talk about because we know that it makes our non-rider friends relatively uncomfortable, and I know that it makes my girlfriend upset and she doesn't really like the way it looks or feels, and I think that's hilarious. Speaking of enduro or mountain bikers in general, SRAM had put out a video last week saying goodbye to the front derailleur forever, and it was the precursor to a new group set, or an upgraded version of a group set that is now out, which I think is absolutely ridiculous because they seem to be putting out a new update or group set per like 2 months. And this iteration came as a 1x12 mountain bike drivetrain using a 10 to 50 cassette, which is absolutely nuts. 12 cogs, 10 to 50, you know, the 50 tooth cog is like a dinner plate, and it looks ridiculous. I personally think that going that big is somewhat overkill, but that's just my opinion. I'm still doing fine with a 32 tooth chainring and an 1136 cassette, and I can't at any point think of any time that I need a lower ratio than that. But I'm sure that if you had it and you ended up using it a little bit, then maybe it probably makes all the difference and can keep you feeling a lot more fresh throughout the day. The thing that I'm most excited about is the fact that all of this technology is just going to trickle down into the lower end group sets, making it a lot more affordable for people like myself. I can live without buying a Canadian, it's probably like an $1,100 cassette or something ridiculous like that. My cross-country bike's not even worth that much, so I'm not going to buy a cassette that's worth more than the majority of my bikes. So let me know in the comments below what you actually think of the new group set that's coming out. They are done with front derailleurs. I think that's great personally. Let me know what you think about that. Seeing as I'm seeing a lot of way cooler versions of track bikes and crit fixed gears that are out, like for races like the Red Hook Crit, being featured on websites like the Rad Avis, and if you spend any time on Instagram seeing all of the super rad crit track bikes or track bikes in general that people are building, and less really cheap versions of it, then you would probably just be as excited as I am about track bikes again. So in my opinion, I'm kind of thinking I want to get another one, and I'm kind of thinking I'd like to maybe try and do some of these Red Hook Crit style races and see how hurt I can get on pretty much the first corner for being the worst. Now, if you are from the Maritimes of Canada, you have probably heard of the Wolfville Roubaix that gets put on every year. And this year marks the 20th annual Wolfville Roubaix, and it is taking place next week on April 10th. Now this is probably my favorite race, and it is what I look forward to all year, and it pretty much carries just about anything that you're gonna want in a spring classic type race that pays homage to, of course, Paris-Roubaix in, I don't know when that is, but anyway. It has really gross gravel roads, potholes everywhere, rough roads, a terribly steep gravel climb, and all your friends that you haven't seen all winter. Now the best part about the Wolfville Roubaix is the fact that it isn't a race, but there is a trophy or chalice of awesomeness that is presented to the first person to cross the line. So it's not a race, but it has a trophy for the first place finisher. So those were kind of the topics that I wanted to talk about for this week's episode of I Just Really Like Bikes, but I do want to answer a question that I got on one of my videos from last week, and that is from Mr. Matt U 1986, and he says, I'm looking into the Norco Search Tiagra and the Da Vinci Hatchet XP. I'm estimating using it 70% pavement and 30% dirt road. Any thoughts on the two bikes? Great channel, by the way. Well, thank you for saying great channel. I appreciate that. Well, I did look into this a little bit for you. I'm guessing your name is Matthew. And I do have the information right here, so let's have a look. So, the Norco Search, which is $15.99, has an aluminum frame with a tapered headset, carbon fork, 28mm wide rims, which are unbranded, and Shimano hubs. Comes with 35mm tires and room for 40 mils. It's got a completely full Tiagra build with TRP Spire brakes that are 160mm rotors front and rear. Compared to the Da Vinci Hatchet XP, which is $13.99, aluminum frame with tapered head tube, carbon fork, Formula hubs with unbranded rims. It didn't give me the width. 38mm tires with room for 40mm tires. It is a full Tiagra 10-speed build, except for the cranks. It has FSA Omega cranks, and I'm going to assume, even though it didn't say on the website, that it is probably because it is a BB30 bike. It also has TRP Spire brakes, which are 160mm rotors front and rear. Now, these are two incredibly similar bikes, and I've got to admit that based on what I'm looking at from the Da Vinci, I do like the looks of it a little bit more, and without riding them, that's kind of all I can give you, because the bikes are so similar in their build-up that they're probably going to feel relatively similar. The best way for you to find out is to actually go and take a test ride on them both. But if you're looking for my recommendation based on what I'm looking at, well, for $200 less and a very, very similar bike, really what you're losing out on, in my opinion, is a bit of a crankset, which is not the end of the world at this level, and some more unbranded wheels, which you could really spend some money later on down the road to do some upgrades to, which you would want to maybe do with the Norco anyway. That you should maybe go with the Da Vinci. And that's just my opinion, but you will only know for sure if you go ride them both. Okay, I think that just about does it for this first episode of I Just Really Like Bikes. So I'm still going to be creating shop stop-in videos and regular content that I've been creating as well, but this show I kind of want to do just to talk about different things that I've seen on the internet or in the world of biking in general. Talk about maybe just the typical things that I would talk about with my friends who are into riding. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you like it, subscribe to the channel, whatever you want to do. This first video is not very good because I don't really know exactly how I want to go with it yet. So thanks a lot for watching.